The movie begins in 1939 with a man named Stan Carlisle hiding a body in an old shed located in an isolated area and then setting the shed on fire. Stan wanders through the countryside until he stumbles upon a traveling carnival and decides to check it out. Among various attractions, he is particularly intrigued by Molly, a woman who can endure electric shocks, and the geek, a man who eats live chickens in public. The carnival owners, Bruno and Clem, offer Stan a job, which he accepts. Stan starts traveling with the carnival, taking on various duties like selling goods, helping set up and take down tents, and capturing the geek when he escapes. At first, Stan hits the geek in self-defense, but over time, he starts to feel sympathy for him, even sharing a cigarette with him one night. After a while, the carnival sets up near the home of Xena and Pete, a pair who used to perform as mentalists. They demonstrate their act at the carnival using secret signals and cold reading, a technique that involves interpreting someone's body language, clothing, and educational background to make it seem like they can read minds. Their secret signals are written down in a small book. As Pete struggles with alcoholism, Xena and Stan secretly work together behind his back. Stan convinces the couple to teach him their techniques, practicing with them and spending his free time with Molly. Stan comes up with a way to improve Molly's act, which she really appreciates, and they become very close. Bruno, who looks out for Molly after her father died, warns Stan to take good care of her. Stan assures him and suggests that they start their own show in the city. They almost kiss, but Molly hastily leaves. One night, the geek gets a severe head injury. When his fever doesn't go down, Clem and Stan take him to a nearby town and leave him at a homeless shelter after a short drive. During dinner, Clem explains how he recruits geeks. He finds desperate drug addicts in alleys and tricks them with kind words. After practice, Pete asks Stan to get a bottle of sugarcane liquor from Clem's stash, and Stan agrees. While trying to study Pete's secret code book while Pete sleeps, Pete wakes up and takes it back, warning that misusing the book can mislead someone into thinking they have actual supernatural powers, which can be dangerous for others. The following morning, Xena discovers that Pete has passed away. A few days later, the police come to shut down the carnival due to illegal activities. When officers try to arrest Molly for indecent behavior, Stan steps in, turns on the electricity to fend off the cops, and claims he has saved their lives. Then, he pretends to connect with the sheriff's deceased mother, who begs for mercy on behalf of the hardworking carnival staff. The sheriff believes him and departs with his deputies, sparing the carnival from closure. Molly, impressed by Stan's cleverness, agrees to run away with him. However, Bruno confronts them and attacks Stan after Molly admits she is still a virgin. Thankfully, Molly steps in, confessing her love for Stan and her plan to leave with him. Stan says goodbye to Xena, who lets him keep Pete's book as a reward for earning it. 2 years later, Stan and Molly are running a successful psychic show for Buffalo's wealthy, where Stan, while blindfolded, identifies people's belongings based on prompts from Molly. Stan is still haunted by memories of the old cabin where he buried his father. During one performance, a refined woman named Lilith dares Stan to guess what's in her bag without any hints from Molly, aware of the secret communication they share. Relying purely on his ability to read people, Stan correctly deduces that Lilith has a gun in her bag, publicly humiliating her by suggesting she lacks control. He then turns his attention to Judge Kimball, pretending to connect with the spirit of Kimball's deceased son. After the show in the dressing room, Molly scolds Stan for unsettling Kimball, reminding him of Pete's caution against such ghostly acts. She persuades him to be honest and provides some closure to Kimball, who wants a meeting before they leave town. When they meet, Kimball offers a large sum of money for a private session at his home with his wife, and despite his promise to Molly, Stan agrees. Meanwhile, Lilith approaches Stan, revealing that she is a psychologist and gives him her contact information. The next day, Stan goes to her office and finds out that she records all her therapy sessions, including those with Kimball. Stan talks about the tricks he uses in his performances, which catches Lilith's interest because of the psychological elements of his cold reading technique. In return for information about Kimball's life, Lilith agrees to become Stan's therapist. Lilith reveals details about Kimball's dead son and starts questioning Stan, confronting his fear of alcohol and hinting that he might have been involved in Pete's death. Pete was someone Stan saw as a better father figure than his own real, abusive, alcoholic father. Meanwhile, Stan's relationship with Molly starts to fall apart. Molly reaches out to Bruno to ask about old friends, admits she misses them, and starts crying. Some old carnival friends visit, and during a dinner, Xena uses tarot cards to predict Stan's future, warning him about the dangers of doing the ghost show. Despite Molly's protests, Stan goes ahead with the ghost show for the Kimballs and succeeds, thanks to the information from Lilith. Stan comforts Kimball's wife by saying she'll eventually make up with her son. After his performance, Stan goes to see Lilith and offers to split his earnings with her, but she declines. However, she agrees to keep the money in her safe to keep it out of Molly's sight. Stan also mentions that Kimball was so impressed that he has set up a private session with a friend. Lilith promises to gather more details in her next meeting with Kimball. Later, Lilith contacts Stan, revealing that Kimball's friend is one of her former patients, who is unpredictable, dangerous, and powerful. Despite the dangers, Stan is determined to go ahead with the show, so Lilith shares the little information she has. At the event, Stan arrives at a grand venue and is searched by a bodyguard named Anderson before meeting Grindel, Kimball's friend. Instead of a typical meeting room, Stan is led into a hallway where Grindel, a very secretive man, insists on using a lie detector. During the test, Stan, worried about being found out, suddenly claims he is communicating with the spirit of a woman named Dory who was forced into a miscarriage by Grindel. The lie detector gives unclear results, making the staff doubtful, but Grindel believes Stan, thinking there's no way Stan could have known about Dory. Later, Stan tells Lilith about the event and mentions that Grindel wants more sessions. Lilith refuses to provide more details, fearing legal trouble since she's the only one who knew about the miscarriage. While Lilith is away, Stan makes a copy of her keys. When she returns, she shows him a scar on her abdomen to remind him of the dangers involved in dealing with powerful people. Disregarding the warning, their affair begins with a kiss on her scar. Stan later sneaks into Lilith's office using the copied key to listen to her recordings about Grindel. He also pays off a health department worker to access items found with Dory after her death, including a photo of Dory that looks like Molly. At their next meeting, Stan impresses Grindel with the new information, but things get tricky when Grindel asks for proof of Dory's ghost. Stan hesitates, saying he needs to be more morally upright for that, but Grindel bribes him to do it anyway. Stan takes the money and heads to Lilith's safe, where she eventually persuades him to start drinking. He tries to get Molly to pretend to be Dory, but she refuses. Anderson intervenes to escort Stan, expressing his loyalty to Grindel and warning against causing trouble. Stan reluctantly agrees to conjure up Dory's appearance under threat from Grindel. Meanwhile, Kimball's wife is tormented by Stan's message about reuniting with her son. In a tragic twist, she uses a gun to end her and her husband's lives, hoping for reunion in the afterlife. With no other option, Stan persuades Molly to impersonate Dory to wrap things up quickly. While preparing, Molly discovers sketches of Lilith in Stan's notebook, exposing his affair. She decides to leave, leaving behind a farewell letter for Stan. He follows her to the train station, smelling of alcohol and making intense comments, but persuades her to join the performance, promising it will be their last show together. That night, they prepare the scene in Dory's garden. Stan sends Anderson inside for privacy and begins the seance. Grindel, hoping to connect with Dory, admits to his past misdeeds, including hurting many women. Molly, dressed as Dory and covered in fake blood, appears at the garden's edge. Their scheme unravels when Grindel, instead of staying put and praying, rushes towards Molly and hugs her, only to realize she's not Dory. Enraged, Grindel attacks Molly and shouts for Anderson, who is inside and hears about the Kimballs' deaths on the radio. Stan subdues Grindel by hitting him until he's unconscious, then flees with Molly in the car as Anderson emerges and starts shooting at them. Anderson quickly closes in, but Stan hits him with the car twice before speeding away. They stop in an alley where Stan breaks the car windows to make it look like a robbery. Terrified by Stan's strange behavior, Molly hits him and leaves. Stan then heads to Lilith to collect his money and leave the city. She prepares the money for him and, after he drinks heavily, he attempts to leave. However, she persuades him to stay by professing her love. But when she turns on a recorder, Stan becomes suspicious. He drops the bag of cash, realizing it's just filled with $1 bills. Feeling betrayed and in shock, he confronts Lilith, who denies any deceit and mocks him for his greed. In a tense moment, she fires a gun at him, grazing his head. Injured, Stan wrestles with her as she calls for security. Hearing the guards coming, he escapes to a train station and hides in a carriage with chicken cages. As the train moves, he recalls the day he abandoned his father to die in the cold, exposing his deep resentment. Roaming without purpose, Stan sometimes joins other wanderers. One night, he exchanges his father's watch for beer after seeing an ad for Xena's new act. Seeking work at a nearby carnival, he He realizes his mentalist act is outdated. However, the carnival manager offers him a job as a geek and a drink. Accepting his destiny, Stan takes the role and breaks into laughter. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching and see you again soon. Take care.